can't believe we lived like that. This is Wednesday's Why, a time where I share stories from my life to inspire yours. Feel free to add comments below. I want this to be a conversational time, not just me talking. But I'd like to see your comments so that we can respond back and forth from week to week. I'm really interested to know what kind of DIYs you do and your why you do what you do. I want to start this first one off by telling you a little bit about myself. My husband and I started off as broke college students. Neither one of us had a job. We were both going to school full-time. We lived in Georgia in 1/4 of a double-wide trailer. There were 3 other families in the trailer. Now we each had our own living space, but that was the married housing at this private school, and it was interesting. It was tiny, but we had a lot of good memories there. While attending college there one day, I was in my favorite class, not my favorite class, algebra. And it was exam day. And all of a sudden it was like somebody took a pot of boiling hot water and poured it over my head. I felt it go onto my shoulders, down my arms, into my fingertips, down my legs, all the way to my toes. It was terrifying. One of the strangest sensations I've ever had in my life. My tongue felt swollen. I couldn't speak. My legs were like jello. And in a desperate attempt to get the teacher's attention, I kind of put my hand up and she saw me, and I wasn't able to speak. I wasn't able to form an intelligible sentence. But somehow I got out, I need to see a nurse. And she could see that I was in a very tense, scared, something bad was going on with me, and she had one of the classroom assistants walk me to the nurse's station. As soon as I got out of the building, I took in a big breath of air, and it was like the first time that I could breathe. It felt like in hours. It had probably only been 30 minutes that I had been in the room, but it just felt like I had been struggling for air for hours. She walked me across the courtyard into the nurse's station, and when I got in there, the nurse had me sit up on her examination table, and she could tell that I was very distraught. Something was very wrong. And she said, well, maybe you have a flu. There's been a flu going around campus. And I was like, I don't know, but this is terrible. I don't know what's happening. I feel like I am dying. Well, she decided to call my husband, fiance at the time, and had him come down because she could see that I really needed some support. I couldn't walk. And between the two of them, they decided to go ahead and transport me to the emergency room. And I couldn't walk. My legs, like I said, were like jello. So here comes my knight in shining armor. My fiance at the time, husband now, lifts me off of the nurse's table, carries me up a flight of stairs, and puts me in the passenger side of the nurse's car, buckles me in. Meanwhile, I'm shaking, and the nurse is handing me a bucket just in case I get sick, because my stomach was a little but mostly it was just terror. I can't explain it. Fear. Something was the matter, and we couldn't figure out what it was. She drove me to the ER, and they did a whole panel of tests. Meanwhile, they give me this little cup that had a mixture. They called it some kind of cocktail, and I drank it. It was creamy, white, milky stuff, and that kind of eased my stomach. And then they gave me 2 pills, and it knocked me out. They were convinced at first that I had a mini stroke. I had all of the symptoms. My speech was slurred. I couldn't speak clearly. I just felt like I was gonna die. I was having these strange sensations and numbness. But after a battery of tests, they determined that I had suffered a severe panic attack. And I know a lot of you can relate. There are so many out there, millions. The more I talk about it, the more people I meet that have experienced this. This was my first full-blown panic attack. I had no idea what was going on. Okay, so if you can picture this, here we are, 2 broke, unemployed, full-time college students, and now I have a severe panic or anxiety disorder. It was caused by a chemical imbalance. This wasn't something that's going to go away quickly and resolve and I'll be hunky-dory and ready to go. I tried to go back to class. It did not work. I couldn't stay in classes. I had to stay home. So now we're living on one income in 1/4 of a double-wide trailer. I always say that would make such a great country song. I lived in 1/4 of a double-wide trailer. I was stuck. We had one car. My husband was working all the time trying to make ends meet to pay for our little apartment and a little bit of food and his college tuition and supplies. So he got a job at a local nursing home and I stayed home. So I was alone, I was scared, I was depressed, and my husband was doing everything he could to make enough money to pay for his tuition, our food, and our little bitty 1/4 of a double-wide trailer. It was a pretty sad time. One of the lowest times of my life. I wouldn't say the lowest, but one of the lowest times of my life. And I don't really know what I did most of the days. I can't tell you. It was like one day ran into the other. Some days I would just stare at the walls or out the window, I think. There was some crying. And somehow, I don't know how this happened, but we managed to have free cable TV. It's kind of, I feel funny saying cable TV. I'm really dating myself. And I started watching home improvement shows. And there was this one show, the Christopher Lowell show. I don't even know if it's still on television, but Chris Lowell became my best friend. He did all of these inexpensive apartment makeovers and little things you could do to improve your house, and I got really interested in that. And so I was watching that day by day, but I was still deeply depressed. And I had a sink full of dishes, no dishwasher, and I didn't feel the strength to wash. And I felt so bad because my husband was working, but I could not make myself do simple things around the house. That's how depressed I was. All of us have this special friend who is like an angel, and I had one of those that came into my life. And one day she came to the house and she started doing the dishes for me. And by doing that, I was able to see a clean canvas, a clean slate to work with. I no longer saw all the filth, the dishes, the depression. I saw a little tiny kitchen, little bitty, like you could take 3 steps backwards and be in our bathroom in front of the toilet. But it was something to work with. So I began doing one thing at a time. I wasn't just thinking about myself and scared all the time. I was saying, hey, I have a home. It's not much of a home, but it's a home. And I looked up at the walls and I thought, you know, these walls are short, but if I put something up there to catch your eye, they would seem a lot taller. And borders were really popular then. So I had a computer, I had paper, I had markers. I found a border pattern online and I began printing those off and coloring them with the markers and cutting them out, and I attached that border all the way across the top of the wall. I climbed up on one of our chairs. We had wicker furniture. We didn't have real living room furniture because it was so small. An outside wicker set did the job for us. And then I realized that I had a blanket that went well with this border, so I ended up putting it up on the wall with thumbtacks, and that became like a mural. And my husband came home that day and he was happy. He was happy that the dishes were done. Of course, happy to have a clean home. But he was happy because he saw something different in me. I began to make changes. Thanks to my friend, with my friend's help, I started to take steps toward creating a home. I started DIYing, using what I had to create what I wanted. And it began this healing process. And I haven't stopped since. And that's one reason why I DIY. And I want to encourage you. I know I can't come to your house. I can't do that never-ending pile of laundry or help you wash those dishes. But what I can do is once a week meet with you and give you some encouragement and say, hey, it is going to get better. I understand because I've been there, and brighter days are ahead. I look forward to sharing the rest of this story with you and other stories from my life. I hope that it inspires you and motivates you and gives you a little bit of encouragement. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back on Saturday and next Wednesday for another Wednesday's Why. God bless. Thanks for joining me. So what's your why? Why do you do DIY? Be sure to comment below. I can't wait to chat with you. If this has been a help in your life, like the video and be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time.